Shut the f*** up and sell 1,000 bars. When Peter Rahal, the founder of RX Bar, went to his father and asked for help raising money, that's exactly what he told him. Now, I haven't exactly learned how to shut up yet. But I have almost sold 1,000 ramen chocolate bars.
Yeah.
Now, it's taken me a few hundred bad business ideas to get here. So let's back up a bit. A year and a half ago, I had a great idea. And like most great ideas generated by 16-year-old boys, it took place in a friend's basement, where I was thinking about two things. One, why did our feet smell so bad? And two, why were we still eating cereal with milk? Now, these were both potential business ideas, and while I don't know why our feet smell, it turns out that there are actually a lot of reasons why we eat cereal with milk. But for a minute, I want you to picture an alternate reality. You come home. You're tired. You're hungry. You're stressed. You don't want to make dinner, and so you go to the cupboard and grab a box of cereal. You fill a bowl, but wait, instead of going to the fridge and grabbing a carton of milk, you grab a bottle of wine. And now imagine that instead of pouring that bottle of wine into a glass, you pour that bottle of wine into your bowl of cereal. And imagine that instead of tasting like shit, it actually tastes good because that cereal has been designed to be consumed with wine. Imagine that instead of soggy cinnamon toast crunch flakes floating in fermented grape juice, that you have small French choux pastry puffs, flavored with dark chocolate or maybe cheese, flavors that already go well with wine. Now it turns out that this idea may not have been so great after all. Anyone old enough to drink wine just didn't want to drink wine with cereal. And anyone young enough to want to pour wine into cereal didn't drink wine, but that was okay because I had another idea. This time it was cereal for beer. Pretty great, right? Well, I thought so, but I don't know what was wrong with people. They still didn't want to pour their beers into cereal. And so it didn't really matter because instead of spending 6 months writing a business plan and thinking about what I was going to do, I tried to shut the up and just sell 1,000 boxes. And I failed, but it was okay because I had another idea. You might be starting to sense a trend, but this time it was cereal for coffee. This actually made more sense. And so again, instead of writing a business plan, I told myself to shut the up and go sell 1,000 jars. A few months later, after making literally 500 batches of cereal, testing temperatures, flours, flavors,
It's crispy.
I launched the world's first cereal for coffee. People actually liked this, unlike my previous cereals, and it was actually working. I was selling it in cafes. I was working with a food scientist to improve shelf stability. I was even about to move into a real production facility. But you're gonna have to believe me when I tell you that it is really hard to make cereal by hand. And it is really, really hard to make money making cereal by hand. And so sadly, cereal for coffee went bankrupt. Now, throughout all my businesses and business failures, my parents have been pretty supportive. There was a stage when I was maybe in grade 9 where I started importing bricks of AirPods from China. I got a lot of them left because they didn't work. But they didn't say no when I tried to start a Ponzi scheme. They may not have said yes either, but they definitely didn't say no when as a 13-year-old I tried to start a marijuana juice bar. It turns out that the cannabodial effects of marijuana don't really outweigh the terrible taste of juiced green leaves, and so I abandoned that idea as well. My parents even let me start a restaurant in our house. I was washing dishes for 3 weeks and they didn't complain. But when I went to my mother and told her that instead of going to university, I was going to sell sex pills on the internet, let's just say she wasn't too excited to tell my grandparents or her friends.
I support you!
But I didn't care. I didn't make a business plan. I didn't worry about what other people would thought. Instead, I told myself to shut the up and go sell 1,000 pills. A few months later, just a few hundred pounds of aphrodisiac herbs in our kitchen. Harvested from a forest in China. And a few weeks after that, gotta find them in my bag here, pleasure pills were born. But I quickly realized that I wasn't actually so interested in selling sex pills. I've spent pretty much every single weekend since the age of 13 working in restaurants, and I wanted to sell food. But I wasn't sure what I would do with the hundreds of pounds of aphrodisiacs that were now in my dad's wine cellar.
I'll take them.
So instead of giving them to Joey Elecno, I created another product. And so Pleasure Paste was born. And now I quickly found out that as tantalizing as that name sounds, people weren't actually so excited to eat something called Pleasure Paste. And I frankly wasn't that interested in selling it either. And so while I didn't sell 1,000 Pleasure Pastes or 1,000 pills, I did have another idea. A few weeks ago, the world's first ramen candy bar was born. And I don't yet know if this will be the next great idea. But what I do know is that people like them more than my other products. That they are much easier to make, that the margins are actually positive, which is something you should probably look for if you're starting a business. And I know that I'm excited about making them. And so, while I'm not sure if they will work, I have almost sold 1,000 bars. And so if you're sitting in a basement wondering why your feet smell and you have an idea, stop thinking about it, shut the f*** up, and go sell 1,000 bars. And use code LICKSITE for 10% off purchases at lickedmedia.com.